Hello and welcome back to the Kill a Bit of Time podcast. Thanks for returning. Thanks for listening. Returning listeners, how are ya? New listeners, how are ya? What have we got to expect from today's invigorating episode of the Kill a Bit of Time podcast? I hear you chant. Well, we're going to be talking a bit about Inuits. Depression. Is it depressing to talk about depression? Let's find out. You're also going to be finding out about a little bloke called Andy Chu in a shop called Hing's. All that to look forward to and more, so sit back, relax and enjoy today's episode. Well, welcome back to the Kill a Bit of Time podcast. Enough of that. Today, I'm going to jump straight in and talk a bit about my week, but from an objective stance. You know, I want it to be relatable. And I'm going to be talking about hanging out with my daughter and how it makes me feel. Other people with kids may sort of be able to relate to that. And I just think there's something deeply fulfilling about just spending time with your child. Doesn't matter what age. And my daughter's only about 17 months, nearly 18 months at the minute. And I just enjoy just hanging out. And sometimes it's just me and her. Like if my missus at work and I've got my daughter, we just have some time together. And it's just something deeply fulfilling about it. And I can relate it to the fact that when I can compare it to when I didn't have a child. Everyone knows what it's like to feel lonely. That is gone. That feeling does not happen anymore because you're never alone. Even when they're sleeping, you're thinking they might wake up any minute. So you're never truly alone. So that little feeling is gone. And I had a little stroke of it the other day when she was at nursery and I was on my own. And I was thinking, a little bit now actually, but I'm not on my own because I've got these fucking headphones on. I don't feel like when I'm really busy, I'm busy today. You know what I mean? I've had work this morning, come back, do a podcast and go back to work. When you're busy, you're not alone, are you? It's when you run out of things to do and you just sit and look around and go, I'm on my own. If you're busy, you don't notice the fact that you're fucking on your own. Anyway, I noticed it the other day. I thought, hang on a minute, I'm on my own here. I feel a little bit lonely. And it's only when you run out of stuff to do. And it was a bit weird because I haven't felt like that in fucking ages. But anyway, back to my point. It's a strange feeling because that you do feel lonely a lot in life when you're on your own until you have a kid. You rarely feel lonely anymore. Anyway, going back to what I was talking about. So these times when I'm spending time with my daughter, there's something deeply fulfilling about it. And I can't quite put my finger on it. It's like you've got a job. You've got something to do in life. I remember a lot through my life feeling like I didn't really have much of a purpose. I didn't have much of a sense of direction. I was sort of just flapping about in the wind like a crisp packet. But then when you've got a kid, it's like you've got a job to do. And it's an important job. It's the most important job that you'll ever have. And so you've got that deep sense of purpose all the time. And it's just something deeply fulfilling about it. And there's something enriching about developing alongside your child because they're growing. And so are you as well. Because they sort of bring the best out in you. Because you have to be at your best to deliver to them what you think a good parent should be. You know, it's weird. Like they've got no expectations. You're their first parent, but you still feel like you got to live up to I hope I'm good enough. Hope they don't think I'm rubbish. You know what I mean? You still feel like you got to hit this standard of human shit that's good enough for them. And it's just something fulfilling about it. And it's weird. Like when they first come along, your baby, it's like, it's a weird kind of love because at the start you love them, but in a sort of animalistic kind of protective kind of way. Like you just feel like you need to protect them at all costs. Like, well, I must protect this special, tiny little delicate thing that can't fend for itself. And you're like, fucking hell, I need to protect this. This is delicate. Imagine being in the wild. Imagine being in a tribe. I reckon those maternal and paternal instincts might be magnified by 1,000, if you like, in tribes and stuff, because there's more dangers out there, isn't it? But anyway, you get like this feeling. And then you love them from that perspective. It's weird. And then, but you think, oh, am I loving them enough? Because I don't love, it's not like a love that you have for your partner. Because with your partner or a friend, you love their personality as well. And this little baby doesn't have a personality. So you're like, what am I loving right now? And it's weird. And then as they as they get older and they start developing a personality, which is sort of based off of, they're picking things up from what you do and you're mixing together and you're both growing at the same time, and your bits of your psyche is rubbing off on them and bits of them are rubbing off on you, and then their personality's coming out, and then you fall in love with them more and more as they grow. And it's an amazing development as it goes. As my daughter's growing up, I love her and she loves me, and it's just weird because the type of love changes as they get older and they develop that personality. It is a truly bizarre and unique and incredible experience. I recommend it. One of the weird things about them developing a little personality, the bit that I don't understand, is their sense of humour. Where does it come from? Because she started laughing real early. I think it was about 3 months. The first thing they laugh at is getting tickled. And that's fair enough. You can understand that. I mean, I don't know why it's funny, actually. I don't really understand it. Why is being tickled funny? It's not, is it? It's just not. You're like poking their sort of vulnerable areas and they think it's funny. I don't get that, actually. But everyone laughs. So you think, fair enough. Everyone laughs at that. Totally normal. But the weird thing is when they develop start developing a personality and the little things that they decide is funny as they grow older. And I'll give you a little example. I was lying down on the sofa the other day, and I was trying to give her oranges to get her vitamin C in. The tiny little easy peelers, you get. Anyway, we had one because we share them. I have half and she has half. And I thought, right, half is not enough. I'll get another one out. But she didn't want it, and I was lying there trying to give it to her. She snatched it off me, and then tried to stuff it in the whole tangerine into my mouth, fully peeled, which she thought was quite funny. And then I sort of just spat it out into the air, and she thought that was fucking hilarious. She could not stop laughing. I kept on doing it, and she just thought it was the best thing ever. But why? Why did she think that was funny? You know what I mean? Like, I bet there's other kids out there that don't find that funny. So why does she find that funny? Where do they get their sense of humour from? That is the bit that I can't get my head around. So yeah, we do things like that. Just mess around, have a little play. Sometimes it's a nice weather outside. It's sunny, and I've got from 4 o'clock onwards. Say we got the evening, and it was sunny. This was when it was like summer, and I thought I don't want to waste this sun whilst I'm with my daughter, just being inside, because we've got loads of time to just mess about inside. So I thought, right, one of the times I took her into the woods. We had a little walk in the woods. Lovely. It was just nice, you know what I mean? Walking in the trees. I feel like these experiences have got to do some good deep down. Just these little, even though you don't remember, it must be doing some good. Because I don't remember fuck all from when I was that age. But I know my mum and dad took me out on loads of bits like that. And it's got to be good for you. Anyway, I took her to the beach another time. And that was awesome. We just sat there on the beach. It was like a little pebbly beach, and I was chucking stones into the sea. She tried chucking it into the sea, realised that she couldn't because she was too far away. So she started giving pebbles to me to chuck into the sea. So she was getting the pebbles into the sea in her own little way. It was quite clever, really. She thought, right, I can't get it in, but I can get this stone in by giving it to this bigger person next to me. He'll get it in. So technically, I'm still getting it in because I'm choosing the stone. So maybe that was our little thought process. But anyway, we're doing that. And it was just nice. It was just me and I just sitting there. Didn't need anything. And that was lovely. And that is a lovely memory that I'll just carry with me. Just sitting there with her on the beach. There's a bond that you develop, a father and a daughter, that is unique, I think. I mean, I don't have a son, but I know it's a unique bond, and it's amazing. Like, I've got used to being number two. When my partner's around, I'm always number two, always. Like, if there's the bottle, she'll only take, if my missus is there, my daughter will only take the bottle from my missus. If we're both in the room, I'd say 8 times out of 10, if she wants picking up by my missus. It's like you have to get used as a dad sometimes of being number two, and that's all right. I think number two is a pretty fucking good place to be. If you're like the second best person in this little person's life, I think that's fucking good. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm biding my time because I reckon later I'll slip into number one position. I'm just biding my time. As soon as the milk dries up, then I'll slip into number 1 position. But anyway, so yeah, doing that, went to the beach, and just sitting next to her, lovely. And then I thought, I know, I'll dip her hand into the sea, see if she likes it, because she's never touched the sea before, and it's a privilege being able to give them these little first experiences in life, and it makes it magical for you again as well, because it's nice seeing another being experience things for the first time. And it's like, wow, it's really, it's a bit of an awakening sometimes. Like the little mundane things you see every day. Like I've seen the sea 1,000 times. But when you're looking at the sea with someone who's never seen it before, never touched it before, it makes it exciting again. Anyway, I brought her over, and she didn't know what to do at first. So I dipped her hand in. And I dipped my hand in. And then shown her that it's all right. And she touched the water on my hand. And then she dipped her hand into the sea, and she's bloody loving it, slapping the sea. First time slapping the sea. And, I was like, right, we've had enough of that now. And we left the beach, and it was just, I'll take that memory with me. It was lovely. And it doesn't have to be little excursions like that. It can be anything. Even like hanging out the washing. It's one of my favourites recently. You just stand there in the garden, hanging out the washing, and then your little daughter passing you the pegs, going, da, and then passing you another peg. There's something really fulfilling about having a child, and then you've got that little bond, and then you look at them and they look at you, and you're kind of look at them to say everything. They're looking at you for affirmation that everything's all right. Eye contact is an amazing thing as well. The eye contact, they make eye contact a lot of the time as a confirmation, an affirmation that everything's all right. And there's something special that they choose you to let them know everything's all right. They look at you, you look at them, you give a little smile, and you go, yeah. And they go, right, I can get on with my day now. The big person says everything's all right. And yeah, it's nice. It's real nice. It's even better when they start copying you. You start copying loads of stuff I do now. Like the Mongolian throat singing, for example. I'm doing that a lot in the minute. I've got a mate called Liam. And every time I send him a video of me doing Mongolian throat singing, he sends me one back of him doing it better. He's really got it down. So I've got my work cut out there. So I've been up in the practice of the old Mongolian throat singing. And now she's copying me by going, and I'm like, And then she's going, and I'm trying to harmonise with her by going, And then every now and then we catch a little harmony. I'm like, yes, this little one, she's going to be harmonising in no time. I reckon 2 years old, we'll be singing little songs, harmonising. And I think that's going to be, oh my God, that's going to be so good. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, yeah. So that wraps up my fucking intro. I didn't expect it to go on that long. But yeah, having a kid, deeply fulfilling stuff. Recommend it. I mean, but obviously, as my sister likes to say, different strokes for different folks. Not everyone decides to go down that path. A lot of people find fulfillment from other walks of life, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on, I'm going to trapeze into the next section, which I'm going to call story time. Story time, motherfucker. All right, here we are. Story time. So went to the toilet the other week. This is 2 weeks ago now. In Dorch, right? This lovely little town called Dorchester. It's 75% of its inhabitants are over the age of 60, and it's just, you just feel safe. You know what I mean? It's just nice. There's not much going on, but it's got everything you need. It's one of them. So that's why I was surprised when I went into the public toilets that there was 2 used needles in the corner there, and there's a sharp box in there. So whoever was jacking up in there decided, fuck it, I'll chuck it on the floor. So that was my first little experience I thought I'd share with you. And the other one was when I went to Asda. Needed a shit. I was like, for fuck's sake. For some reason, I always need a poo when I'm shopping. I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm finding it exhilarating. I don't know why it would speed up my metabolism. I'm not excited. I just need a poo when I'm shopping a lot of the time. So luckily there's toilets in Asda because there wasn't any in Sainsbury's. So anyway, I went along. Irritatingly, there's already someone in there and someone waiting. So there was a queue. The person who came out eventually looked all sheepish and scuttled away. Never a good sign. The next person went in, came out. They went, "Oh, it's all flooded. So you won't be able to use that." And I was like, "I will be using it. I don't care what situation is in there. I'm coming out with less feces than I went in with. So anyway, I went in, and yeah, it was all flooded around the toilet. Like you couldn't use the toilet because there's about half an inch of water around it. So if you put your trousers down, your trousers would get wet. So I was like, oh, I can't use the toilet. So what am I going to do here? I need to evacuate my bowels. And you know those bins in the UK, you get these bins, right? There was a baby change in a disabled toilet, just for a little background. They've got these bins, and it's for nappies and like whatever else that shouldn't go down the toilet. Anyway, I was like, right, I'm gonna have to go in there because it's the best thing available. And obviously, I was a bit paranoid about how dirty that was as well. So I lifted the flap up, put some like toilet paper around it to make myself fashion myself a little seat, and I just sat down and shat directly into the bin, washed my hands and left. And unfortunately, there was someone waiting outside as well when I left as well. So I was all sheepish and scuttled away as well. So maybe I wasn't the first person to do that, because the first person scuttled away. Everyone was very shy when they left that toilet. And it was just getting in a worse and worse condition progressively throughout the day. They should cordoned it off. They should have cordoned it off hours before I got there, and certainly after I left. Anyway, that was the first thing on my little story time venture. Second thing, I have been leveling up my ramen game. Now is seriously fucking good, and I don't mind sucking my own float to say that. Okay, it's real good now. I've moved totally away from the packet ramen. I've got dried ramen noodles, and I make my own broth. And I'll let you into how to make the best ramen broth in the world, I think, because I'm at a point now where it can't get any more delicious. So what I'll do is, if anyone's familiar with tom yum paste, it's like a lemongrass, chili, ginger paste. It's fucking out of this world. It's lovely. You make a little broth with that, but not too strong, because you're adding some more stuff in there in a minute. So you make your broth with that, and then on top of that, you add coconut cream or coconut milk, and then it's not called tom yum anymore. I learned this at the noodle bar. It's now called tom cha. This is now called a tom cha ramen with the addition of the coconut milk. Got to take a breather. I'm getting excited. So you got your tom yum paste and your coconut milk. And on top of that, you add about 2 tablespoons of fish sauce or squid sauce. You can get it in any sort of Chinese supermarket. It's real salty and real delicious. It's nice. It's not as rank as it sounds. And then on top of that, you add about another tablespoon of crushed ginger, and then some of this stuff. And then the addition, if you want it more spicy, I recommend adding some gochujang powder. It's like this Korean crushed chili, but it's not necessary. It's just if you like it spicy, and I love it spicy. And then you add your ramen, of course. And then if you really want to make sure it's like top notch, you obviously poach an egg in the ramen broth, and then add some bean sprouts. On top of that, once it's poured into a bowl, you add your spring onion. If you're really feeling fancy, a bit of bok choy, but I'm not a big fan of bok choy. I feel like the bean sprouts give it enough crunch as it is. And on top of that, you add your mixed white and black sesame seeds, and then boyak. Oh, and of course, a healthy dollop of kimchi. And then I'm telling you now, you'll eat all of it. Doesn't matter if you're full halfway through, you're eating all of it, because your body takes over at that point. It's so nice that your body takes over, and it's like if you give a dog a lump of cheese, it's eating all the cheese. Even if it didn't want to, it's going to finish the cheese. It's a little bit like that, but it's human. It's a human version of that. So yeah, that was what I did with that. And anyway, so where I'll get my ingredients for this ramen is this awesome little shop in Poole called Hing's. And I can't explain well enough how good this shop is. It's got everything you could possibly need. It's a Chinese supermarket. It supplies all the Chinese and sort of Southeast Asian restaurants in the local area, and it's got everything you need in there. It's not just Chinese cuisine. It's got South Korean, Taiwanese, Thai, all sorts of stuff in there. So yeah, and I go in there regularly. My little shopping list for Hing's is getting longer and longer. I used to only go in there for kimchi. Now I've got about 8 to 10 things on my list. And one of the best things about Hing's is the bloke who runs it. And his name is Andy Chu. And the reason I like Andy Chu I don't think Andy's his real name. If anyone's ever rubbed shoulders with a lot of people from Southeast Asia, they tend to give themselves an English or American sounding first name because they think Westerners won't be able to pronounce their real name. A lot of them do it. I had an ex, her real name was Haeyong. She was South Korean, but she told everyone to just call her Helen. And a lot of them do it. There's another guy I knew from Taiwan called Xin Wei. His real name was Wayne. Little side quest. I used to stay in this hostel in Bundaberg with my mate, right? He stayed there for a bit, met him in Bundaberg, and we made friends with this bloke called Chin Wei. He said, call me Wayne. And he didn't quite have get the hang of what breakfast should be. And what did he do? He used to put Nutella with cheese, that was it. He'd make a Nutella and cheese sandwich. And he'd come up to me and my mate and go, oh, are you going to come and enjoy breakfast with me? Which are like, yeah, sure, Wayne. We'll come and enjoy breakfast with you. We'll go over, like not really knowing what to expect. And he's busting out the old cheese and Nutella sandwiches. And me and my mate are looking at each other like, do we tell him? I can't remember how we dealt with that situation. I think we ended up making a fry up. We were like, look, mate, this is breakfast. That's not. Something like that. Anyway, back to Andy Chu. The reason I like going into a shop is because he gives you these little like top tips. Awesome little top tips. For example, I buy these noodles regularly, these dried noodles, and all my life I've been boiling them in a pan when I need noodles. And I was talking to Andy Chu, and he goes, no, you don't do that. What you do is you rehydrate your noodles. And I said, what do you mean? He said, right, you just pour boiling hot water on them and then leave them there for about 5 minutes. A little bit like you do with a pot noodle. Apart from, after the 5 minutes, you then rinse them and cool them back down with cold water. And then you've got basically fresh noodles, they're sitting there. So that when you're doing your veg and your wok, you're frying your veg up in your stir fry. When you're ready, you then add your noodles, toss them around a few times, your soy sauce or whatever, bang, you got a fucking top quality noodle right there. And I was like, that's a fucking fantastic little tip. He gave us another tip about spring rolls. It's not springing to mind right now. Okay. And another good tip as well, right? I've made some kimchi recently. I made my own. And what I didn't realise, because I've made it before, and I thought, fuck it, I'll make it again. And I told old Andy Chu what I was up to. And he said, what are you doing for yeast? I said, what do you mean, yeast? He said, it's best to have a bit of natural yeast in your kimchi, and it helps the whole fermentation process along. And anyone who doesn't know what kimchi is, it's basically fermented cabbage, and it's an excellent probiotic. And it's the fermentation process that develops these good bacteria, which is good for your gut and your mental health. So rotten cabbage is good for your mind. Anyway, he said, funnily, he said to me, have you got an apple tree in your garden? And that's a bit of a bizarre question to ask, and just someone you don't really know. I was like, oh, well, I do, as a matter of fact, yeah. And he said, right, have you got any apples left on there? Because, back end of summer, pretty much winter. And I said, there might be a couple knocking about, little stragglers that failed to fucking drop. And anyway, turns out I did. Anyway, the reason he said this is because natural apple skins you get in your garden, have a lot of natural yeast on the skin or in the skin. And if you chop that up and chuck it in your kimchi, it's good for two reasons. First of all, you don't have to put sugar in there anymore, because in the usual kimchi recipe, you've got to put sugar in there. And if you use an apple, the natural sugar, the fructose in the apple, is sufficient enough to replace the artificial sugar you're about to put in there. And as well as that, you get this natural yeast from the apple skin, which aids the fermentation process. I was like, thank you very much, Andy Chu. That's some fucking banging top tier advice once again. So there you go. There's a top tip for you if you ever fancy making some kimchi. So I looked into this Andy Chu fella a bit more, as I like to do once someone's interested me. I have a little bit of research, and he's a fucking top fella. He goes around doing this dragon dancing in schools, at festivals, at business openings, and what he likes to do is promote sort of like Chinese traditional culture. And what he does is he runs this sort of non-profit organisation called the Dragon of the South, and he just goes around doing all these events, stuff like that, like food festivals and things like that. He does like these competitions for he does like food demonstrations, how to cook Chinese food, and little food eating competitions and things like that. And he does the dragon dancing as well. And the one he uses, which is quite clever, is called the Dragon of the South, which in China is traditionally the red dragon called Chai Long. And that's the Dragon of the South. And obviously he's down south, southwest, Dorset, that's Dragon of the South as well. So yeah, he's quite switched on. I quite like that. If anyone wants to look him up on Instagram, his little handle is @walkingwithandy. And yeah, so there you go. I was talking about this whole topic with my mate on voice notes recently, as well as other things. And we were talking about one of the topics which I was talking about last week on this podcast, which was depression. And he made me realise something. So I need to just adapt something that I said last week, which I need to change. So last week I said that there's a difference between being depressed and being sad. Because if you're depressed, it's like it's not necessarily you feel sad. It's like you feel like, what's the point in doing anything? So you end up just lying there, and not accomplishing anything. You don't feel the point. You don't see the point in doing anything, and it's sort of a debilitating sort of condition. And I realised that was just my experience of it. Because after talking to him, he made me realise that obviously there's other people who have had depression, like Robin Williams. What's that other guy? Michael something or other, who did Fawlty Towers, right? Those people, and there's more. They have depression, and they just got up and managed to accomplish things and do things and put on a fake smile, and underneath it all, they were deeply depressed. So I think, yeah, I just want to change my stance on that. I think, yeah, you can get up and do stuff if you're depressed. But my personal experience of it, my subjective experience of it, is that I couldn't. But so yeah, I think everyone experiences it differently. And my mate as well, he said, because we were comparing it to doing the washing up. I said, if you're doing the washing up, you're probably going to be in a good mood, because if you're depressed, you're not going to want to do the washing up. You just let it stack up, and you just sit there feeling mopey. Because I said, you can get up. If you can get up and make yourself do something and self-motivate, then that's going to help you get towards having a positive outlook on your day. And then he said, yeah, but you could be masking. And I was like, oh yeah, you could be masking. And that's what this Robin Williams fella and the other one and other people. So they can get up and do the washing up, but it doesn't help. And that's even worse, isn't it? If you can self-motivate yourself to get up and do something in the hope that the act of doing something is going to snap you out of it, and then it doesn't, and you still feel fucked. So I feel like, yeah, I think that's a worse one. I think maybe I got off lucky because it was only for about 6 months or so. But some people never manage to get out of it, because sometimes it can be clinical. Sometimes there's no amount of anything you can possibly do can get you out of that depressive state. And obviously, as a last resort, if you've got clinical depression, obviously then you need to see a GP and get prescribed some medication. But I do think that should be the very, very last resort, because you don't want to be relying on medication for you to feel better. And don't forget as well, life is not all about feeling happy. That's not the answer to life. You shouldn't feel happy all the time anyway. Sadness is a function in the brain. It's there for a reason. It's just sometimes people's brains aren't chemically balanced. But sadness is there for a reason. You shouldn't feel happy all the time. The meaning of life isn't to feel happy all the time. If the meaning of life was to feel happy all the time, you could just go and be a heroin addict, even though they're not happy all the time. But you know what I mean? You could just take drugs. Drugs make you happy. Is that the answer to life? You could just go and, like, for example, in America, in like the 50s and 60s, you could get prescribed pretty much anything from the doctor. You know what I mean? Medication. You can medicate yourself up to the eyeballs. I'm pretty sure you still can now, actually. You can make yourself happy all the time with drugs. But that's not obviously not the answer, is it? You need to feel your true feelings in order to be able to manage them properly. So I think, yeah, it's a complicated area. I'm not an expert. I'm just talking about things from my personal stance and my personal outlook. But these are the sorts of topics I love talking about with my little mates on voice notes and things like that. Because sometimes you can bounce ideas across from each other, and it makes you realise things that you potentially have never thought about before. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Anyway, on that cheery note, I'm going to be moving swiftly on to my next feature, which is a cheeky little plunge. There we are. If anyone hasn't experienced this before, it's called a cheeky little plunge. It's where we have a little deep dive into something. Apart from it's not a deep dive, it's a cheeky little plunge. So here we go. And today's little cheeky little plunge is going to be on a phrase which my mate sort of told me about, which is patience of an Inuit. Because he's been listening to me podcasts, and he told me about it. And it couldn't have come at a better time, really, because working on patience is something I've been really trying to focus on recently, and I've been getting a lot better at it. And but this little patience of an Inuit thing has actually helped, and I'll explain why after I've gone through my findings on a cheeky little plunge. And just to give you a little bit of a background, right? I'm generally improving on my patience at work. Mainly is where a lot of my stress comes from. But I'm only human, and every now and then I just slip. And this week I had a bit of a slip at work, where it's like, we're quiet now. We're quiet at work. But when you're quiet, head office are like, right, you're quiet, chop labour. You need to operate with less people. So it's actually harder. When you're quiet, it's harder than when it's busy. Because when it's busy, you're taking loads of money and you can just recruit loads of people and just have loads of people at work, and it's a breeze. When it's quiet, they're like, right, you can do this with 2 people. And it's like, you can, but it's stressful. It's more stressful because you've got more to do. And anyway, we're doing this evening shift. I work in a kitchen, anyone who doesn't know. And so working in a kitchen, we close at 9. This is about 8:30. We were pretty much cleaned down, me and this one other fella, right? My CDP, which means chef de partie, anyone who doesn't know. He's been with me about 6 years. He knows his crack. He knows what to do. And anyway, we got this late ticket on, which is a little bit aggravating, but I can deal with that. You know what I mean? We are a kitchen. We are open. I can deal with people ordering food. Not a problem. But anyway, for some fucking unbeknown reason, my chef decided out of the fucking blue to put a steak and ale pie under the salamander grill. And it burnt. He burnt it. It burnt. And I said to him, I was like, why the fuck did you decide? And anyone doesn't know, right? I pride myself on stocks. I've been in the top 3 parks for stock gross profit margin consistently for the last 5 years. We're known for having good gross profit margins. I'm always in the 70%, and so any loss of stock really triggers me, especially when you're quiet, because if you have any wastage when you're quiet, it's going to be a bigger percentage. If I have to waste a pie on a day where I've only taken 500 quid, that pie is going to be a lot bigger percentage than if I've taken £1,000 that day. You know what I mean? So it's even more aggravating when people cause losses when we're quiet. Anyway, he burnt this fucking pie, and then my that triggered me a bit. I was getting annoyed. I was getting real annoyed. So why did you do that? Out of the fucking blue. You worked here for 6 years, and all of a sudden you decided to put a pie under the fucking grill. What's wrong with you? Anyway, getting the tickets out. Burned a pie. Got another pie on. I was pissed off, trying to get his shit up. Right, mate. Where's the fucking veg? He should be on the veg. You know what I mean? That's his job. Where's the veg? I forgot to get it in. Well, you forgot. You burnt the pie, and now you forgot to get the fucking veg in. Everything's ready, apart from the veg. Now we've got to wait for the fucking veg. It's fucking nearly 9 o'clock, mate. It's not good enough. Anyway, my stress is just increasing right now. I'm at a level now where I'm almost at the point of no return. Anyway, I'm like, right, you fucking finish it off. Everything's ready apart from the veg. I'm going to sweep. I grabbed the broom, started sweeping, and then the broom head fell off beyond repair. It was not repairable, and I had to go and get a new broom. And that might not sound like a big task, but our cleaning container is fucking miles away, so I had to go all the way over there to get them. Anyway, this tipped me over the edge, and I took the broom out. I was fucking pissed off. Something else happened. I can't remember what. And I just outside, just smashing the broom handle against the wall. Just lost my temper. Just beating the fuck out of a wall with a broom handle. And even whilst it was happening, I was in rage mode at that point. I would be on the point of no return. At that wall, all I wanted to do was smash this piece of metal against the wall. That's all I wanted to do in life. And it wasn't making me happy, but it was like getting some anger out. And I had to be careful because there was a little KP sitting on a bench. I don't want to hit him or any bits of metal fly off and hit someone, you know what I mean? But when you're in rage mode, you can't get out of it for some reason. I can't. And anyway, even when you're in that mode, you set your little voice is going, what are you doing? This is not helping. This is not helpful at all. But that little voice is not as strong as your voice in your head, which is going, smash the broom against the wall. That is what you need to do right now. That voice is a lot fucking stronger than your little timid voice going, what's the point in doing that? Anyway, everything calmed down. I calmed down, closed the kitchen, and I was like, right. I let myself slip there. I mean, good until that moment. And then I just fucking, all of a sudden, one thing led to another. I got triggered. I got bang, 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 triggered by a few little things in succession, where if they were individually happening, I might have been able to deal with it. But because 2 or 3 things happened in quick succession, quickly tipped me over the fucking edge. That broom handle didn't stand a chance. So yeah, let myself slip, and then the day after that is when my mate sent me this thing told me to look up this thing called Patience of an Inuit. So I've been looking into it, this Patience of an Inuit. And first of all, I'll just tell you like my predisposition on Inuits. I thought, right, an Inuit is an Eskimo, and they are. And I was like, right, what do I know about Inuits? And they're basically, in my opinion, to my knowledge, they were North American inhabitants. They were basically like Native Americans, but they lived in North America. And that's basically all I knew. You know, they live in igloos. I never understood why they lived there. I was like, why don't they just move? You know what I mean? It's not the best place to live, is it? And then they eat seals and whales and stuff like that. You know, I'm a bit ignorant when it comes to sort of North American culture. So that's why I enjoyed looking into it a bit. And sort of my first bit of ignorance was, I know you shouldn't call them Eskimos. You shouldn't call an Inuit an Eskimo. They find it offensive. But I never knew why. It's like, why? Why can't you call them an Eskimo? It's just a word for what they are, isn't it? And then after doing a little bit of research, it's because Eskimo is what the colonials called them. It was the name that the colonials gave them. It wasn't a name that the people gave themselves. It's what American settlers called them. And it translates to eater of raw meat. And then they get called Eskimos, you know, by all the settlers that came to South America. Not South America, Central America. And they call them Eskimos. And you shouldn't, because they don't like it. Their name, the name for their people that they give to themselves is Inuit. That's what you should call them. And an Inuit people is anyone who speaks the language called Inuktitut. It's called Inuktitut. And it's the inhabitants of North America, like Alaska, snowy parts of Canada, as well as Siberia. There's Inuits in those 3 areas, and they all speak Inuktitut. So I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. I quite enjoyed looking that little fact up. So yeah, there's 2 levels of ignorance you could have here. First of all, you just might think it's okay to call them Eskimos, and it's not. It's Inuits. And then the other hurdle is you just call everyone who lives in the snow an Inuit. No, it's only people who speak Inuktitut. There's loads of other people in the world that just live in snowy areas. Even the ones in Siberia, they don't really like to be called Inuits. They prefer to be called Siberian Yupiks. And then there's loads of snowy areas in the world, yeah, that have inhabitants there. Even like North Japan, that's a really icy, snowy area. And they like to be called Yukigunis, which is quite a funny little name. But, you know, but I reckon the average Joe, if they just saw this like Japanese fella in a little igloo, they'd go, oh, there's a Japanese Eskimo over there. But no, it's a Yukiguni. That's what they want to be called. Not even an Inuit, a Yukiguni. But it's difficult, isn't it? Like, not to offend people these days. It's best just to like stay to your little area, innit, and just make sure you're not pissing anyone off. If I went to Japan and I stumbled across a Yukiguni, I wouldn't know what to call him. If that's why it's important, if you go travelling, you should do some research on the area you're going to in case you piss people off. It's like when I went to Nepal, I experienced something called culture shock, and it is a fucking shock as well. That's exactly what it is. It's when you go somewhere new and it's like the cultural elements are so different to what you're used to. You don't know how to behave. Like the social cues are different. Things that offend people are different. You don't know how to behave, what to say, or what to do. And then in my experience, you just freeze. When I got out into the airport in Nepal, there was loads of people fucking bubbling around me, getting too close. And it's just like, I can't push people away. What if I fucking get arrested? I don't know what's illegal. I didn't do enough research. There's people grabbing my bags out my hands. And I was like, this wouldn't happen in the UK. If I got off at Heathrow Airport and then a load of people started grabbing my bags off me, you'd probably punch them, wouldn't you? Or push them off you. Get the fuck away from me. But when you're getting mobbed in a Nepalese airport, you obviously don't want to be doing that. So you just freeze. You don't know what to do. You've got people asking you for money. You've got people begging you for money. You've got people trying to snatch your bags. You're like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, that's why you should do your research before you go to North Japan and, go and visit the Yukigunis. They might be a lovely little people. But I don't understand why they live in these snowy areas anyway. That's one of the things I still don't know now. I'm sure if I carried on doing research, I might find out. But one of the big things I don't understand is why the Inuits, why the Siberian Yupiks, why the Yukigunis, why didn't they all move? Why didn't they move? Not mean. They're known for being like nomads. They follow around the seasons. They have to do big loops around the area to make sure they're following the right seasons or whatever, to make sure they're getting the best of the wildlife that they can eat. And so, but why didn't they just go one step further and go to somewhere that's a bit nicer weather? You know what I mean? You don't have to live there. In fact, the Native Americans originally all came from Southeast Asia, and they did they came in like 3 waves. This is like 4 to 10,000 years ago. And they came in 3 big waves through Siberia and into North America. And that's how they came across. So all the Native Americans were actually originally Southeast Asian. And that's the sort of the big... So they travelled half the fucking planet. So why couldn't they just go a bit further and just get out of the freezing cold fucking tundra? I just don't know. Why do they go, yeah, we've gone far enough? And then some other one goes, it's fucking freezing here. You sure you want us to stop here on an ice cube? You want to live here where we have to literally make little huts out of fucking blocks of ice? Here is when you want to stop. You've come all the way from fucking Mongolia, through Russia, through Siberia, over the fucking, what's it called? The Bering Land Bridge, right, which joins Siberia and North America, all the way over there. And then they've come to this frozen wasteland and they go, I think we've gone far enough, guys. I think we could just down tools and stop here. I don't get that. But, each to their own. As my sister likes to say, different strokes for different folks. But anyway, they settled, in these snowy, harsh conditions. And one of the ways that they survived, one of the things they had to have to survive was a lot of patience. And that's where the patience of an Inuit thing came from. Fishing, for example. They'd have to dig a little hole in the fucking ice. They'd have to fashion little fishing lines from animal tendons. Like, imagine how hard that is in the first place. And they could be fishing for fucking hours on end and get nothing. Or they could be fishing for hours and hours, days and days. And then they could catch something on a little fishing string they made from tendons and a little hook they made from fish bones. They could get a fish and then the line could just snap because it's only made from tendon. It's not the best thing in the world, is it, to fish with? And imagine how aggravating that would be. But they just had to suck it up and be like, well, let's make another fucking bit of string from another fucking animal's leg tendon. And they just have to carry on, because if they were getting angry with life's frustrations, they'd be pissed off all the fucking time, all the time, because life is tough over there. You have to be patient. There's no other fucking option number B. There's no plan B. You must be patient. What can you do? They had to wait for storms to pass before they could even dig a hole in the fucking ice to fish with a little tendon made from animal sinew. They had to wait for storms to pass. Their whole life is spent waiting and being patient. And that's sort of like an inbuilt characteristic of their people. They're known for being patient. It's because they have to be. They have to be nomadic. They have to follow the seasons round, going from place to place, hunting, waiting for storms to pass, trying to scratch food together, and they intentionally ingrain patience into their culture. And in fact, like losing your temper, like I did with that broom handle, losing your temper or becoming like emotional, having emotional outbursts like that could disrupt the delicate balance that their group need to survive. They must be patient. They all have to work together. They're very, very tight-knit communal relationships in their little group. And it's based on being patient with each other as well. You know what I mean? They're all in the same boat. And because of this, they have to purposely teach their children to be patient as well, which is interesting. I'm trying to teach my little one patience now as well, because I've taken little notes from this. It's good to learn, isn't it? That's when you learn something, it's usually for a reason. So I'm going to try and teach my daughter patience so she's not a fucking nutcase like I am. So yeah, so in the Inuit culture, they try and teach their children patience. And how they do that is that when the kid's kicking off, because all kids are going to kick off about something at some point or another, what they do is they wait for their child to calm down before they engage with them. So the child's kicking and screaming. The Inuits, they don't really react. They just wait. They wait, just like they do at that little fishing hole. They wait for the kid to calm down. Eventually, they do run out of steam. And then they explain to them. They're like, look, what was that all about, mate? I don't know what they do. I don't know how they explain to them, and that was not good. But that's what they do. They sort of wait for them to run out of steam, and they don't shout or punish them. They don't do that. It's just a different way of raising kids, and they raise them up to be patient. I needed a little Inuit to tell me everything was all right after my chef burnt that pie. That's what I needed. But I've got to be my own Inuit. I've got to make peace with my own internal little Inuit there. Just like they do raising their kids. And what they do is they do this, and then eventually the children's brains develop to be able to handle emotions constructively. And it's a great little way of raising and being in the culture. I think more people in the Western world need to do that. We're always told, don't bottle things up, innit? Don't bottle it up. Cry, have a little shout or whatever. But I think it's the other way around, because bottling things up isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. It's not like you're sheltering emotions that you're ashamed to show. It's you're showing strength. You're showing resolve. You're showing control. And I think I need to have that outlook. Actually, I think it's way better. Like in the Inuit culture, emotional outbursts as an adult are shameful. If you lose your shit in a little igloo there, you ought to be ashamed. It's an embarrassing thing to do, and I think maybe that's good. The philosophy behind it all is that patience is a strength and not a repression. And I think we need to take more leaves out of the little Inuit book there. It surprises me though, for a people so patient, and I'm sorry to go back to it again, but for a people so fucking patient and nomadic, they still couldn't find their way out of the frozen tundra. Like, they're so patient. They could have walked a bit further. You know what I mean? Anyway, putting that aside, they're there now. They're there. I think they were just there for so long. They were like, fuck it. Let's just make do. And because they were there for so long, now they can't leave, because that's what they're used to. Their culture is there now. So even if they did leave, they wouldn't fit in. So even if they did find their way out, they just wouldn't fit in. So, for example, they've got dozens of words like for snow and ice, but they wouldn't need all those words if they traipsed down to Vancouver. You know what I mean? Booked himself into a restaurant, started putting all the fish bones in their pocket to make hooks out of. They don't need them. You don't need them in Vancouver. So I think now it's just like, just leave them be. It's a little bit like if you take a tribe member out of the Amazon rainforest and plonk. I've said it before about Bullface. And stick them in Piccadilly Circus. They wouldn't fit in. Just leave them in the jungle and leave the Inuits in the tundra. And that's, everyone just be in their own little place. Not that there's anything wrong with moving. If you want to fuck off to Spain, like there is thousands of fucking expats, they're called in Spain, go. You know what I mean? One of the interesting things about the Inuits is that they live like a communal lifestyle. They all have like a communal group. So like any decisions are made by general consensus. And there's a lot of decisions that have to be made that affect the group, not just individuals, like where they're going to go next, what direction they're going to go in, when are they going to move, who gets what, whose job is whose job. And they're all done on like a general consensus. And if it's too much of a close call, then it's up to the elders of the group sort of make the call. So it's sort of like a democracy. It's like a democracy, innit? Because it's like voting. And if the vote's too close to call, they just look to the old people. And it seems to work all right, democracy, with small groups of people. But the problem is with democracy is when it scales up, it's sort of like difficult to see if it's working or not. Like if there's 100 people, right, and 1% is kicking off, it doesn't really matter because there's only one person. It's just Cedric. Oh, it's just Cedric kicking off again. Yeah, it's just ignore him. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter what fucking Cedric wants. Most of us want to go north. Fuck Cedric. But if you've got like a group of 70 million, right, which is the population of the UK, and 1% is kicking off, then that's 700,000 people. It's a lot more difficult to ignore 700,000 people kicking off. You can't really ignore them. So, you know, it's a tricky one, especially if they all hurdle together and then start kicking off in like the capital city. But if you imagine like this, it's only 1%. It's just Cedric. Just imagine these big groups of people as just little old Cedric in like a little tribe of Inuits, say it kicking off. No, it didn't want to go north. Imagine it like that. If it was just old Cedric swinging a fucking pickard around like a lunatic, you wouldn't listen to him, would you? But anyway, so I've tried to apply this this Inuit situation to my week because, you know, there's multiple times throughout the week that I will become impatient and I try to recognize it and deal with it in a positive way as quick as possible. And my new little way of dealing with these emotions is to imagine a little Inuit bent over a hole in the ice fishing with a bit of sinew fishing line. And I tell you what, it works a fucking treat. I've used it a good few times this week. I'm really glad my mate told me about this little thing. Because, for example, right, I went bowling again, right, the other day with my missus and a couple of mates. Baby needed a bum change. I can't really call her a baby anymore. She's like 17 months. Little girl needed a bum change. I was like, I'll go. I don't mind doing bum change. Fine. Anyway, you've got to go and get a key for the changing room a lot of the time. So I went over there and it was my turn soon on the bowling. And I was waiting, and there was only one person serving, and they were serving someone else at the fucking giving toys out or whatever. And I felt myself getting really annoyed. I was like, for fuck's sake, why can't this fucking have two people on? It's obviously busy in here. Anyway, I recognised the fact I was getting annoyed, and I just fucking imagined this little Inuit fishing, and I immediately became calm. I was just literally just picturing a little Inuit fishing over a little frozen hole with his hood up, looking through his like icy little hood. And I was like, that'll work quite nicely. Another time, this helped this week is when my sous chef, right, fucked up an order once again. He keeps fucking up the orders, pisses me right off. Like I've said before, I'm quite strict when it comes to my stock. He ordered 4 cases of fucking avocados instead of 4 avocados. I got 4 cases. They cost about 25 quid each for a case of avocados. They're not cheap. So I was sitting on all these fucking avocados, felt myself getting really annoyed, and then bang, I was like, all right, imagine the Inuit. It's a little bit like, has anyone ever seen Fight Club when he's told to say, go to your happy place? And he goes into this little icy cave and he keeps going through the cave. And at the end of it, you've got Marla sitting there having a fag. Instead of Marla having a fag, I've got a little Inuit sitting there fishing over a hole. And for anyone in America who's listening, a fag in the UK is a cigarette, not what you call it. Anyway, so yeah, I imagine the little Inuit. And it helped. I calmed down. I was like, right, what am I going to do? I've got way too many avocados, way too many. I've got enough avocados to last me about a month. So I got the lads just to chop it all up, turn it into guacamole and freeze it. And I was like, there you go. I dealt with the situation quite calmly. And it's all thanks to the patience of the Inuit. I was thinking about this on the way to nursery the other day. And I was just thinking to myself, I wonder what instruments the Inuits play. Because when it's fucking freezing, like I've played, when you try with the guitar, right, you can't play when your fingers get cold. Yeah, you can't bend them. They stop working. Same with like a lot of other instruments. You need your fingers, don't you? You need your fingers to play a lot of instruments. So I just thought to myself, I wonder what the Inuits play. So I did a little bit of digging. And this is the madness. Turns out, first of all, drums. Drums came up as one, which makes sense, innit? Because they're like beating away on. They don't really need your fingers that much. You're just slapping them against a, bit of sealskin draped over, tight over a fucking empty barrel or something like that. And then the other one, this is the madness, is throat singing. Throat singing. And I was like, hang about, we've just come full circle here. Because I've been trying to work on my Mongolian throat singing recently. It's just because I was just interested in it. I don't know why. I just was. I've always have done. I tried doing it about 15 years ago. I thought I'd just, dig it back up again. And so throat singing came up as the Inuits. And I thought, oh, of course, that makes fucking sense, actually. Because they migrated. They migrated all the way over from fucking Southeast Asia, which is where Mongolia is. Southeast Asia, Mongolian throat singing, they took it with them on their migration, and it's ended up in places where the Inuits live. And I just thought that is so mad because it's like linked. Everything's linked. I've been working on my Mongolian throat singing, and it's all linked to patience because my mate told me look up about the Inuits, and it's all bloody linked together. So I just thought that was a bit mad. It also got me thinking a bit about migration as well, and we wouldn't have the history that we do have without migration. So is it wrong that there's a lot of migration coming to the UK at the minute? Well, maybe not. A lot of people might not like it, but migration's been happening for since man began. You know what I mean? You had the Roman Gypsies coming over from North India. You had the fucking Native Americans coming over from Southeast Asia. People have just been migrating for thousands and thousands of years. Nothing necessarily wrong with it. You know what I mean? It's not illegal. There's nothing morally wrong with it. So, yeah, it got me thinking. This whole topic got me thinking about all sorts of stuff and how it's all linked. But anyway, because of all that, I'm going to finish today's podcast. I'm running a bit over now. I'm going to finish today's podcast with a little bit of like sort of Native American drumming with a bit of my own Mongolian / Inuit throat singing on top of it. So enjoy. And I'll see you next week for another invigorating episode of the Kill a Bit of Time podcast. Thank you and goodbye. Killed a bit of time, didn't it?